Like what we're doing here at Cube for Two? Click the like and subscribe button to let us know. Also, Cube for Two is now a TCG Player affiliate. Click the link in the show notes for all your shopping needs to help support the channel. Alright guys, let's get started.
What's good, Cubers? It's your boy, Matt.
And your lady, Lori.
And welcome to Cube for Two and You, where we discuss all aspects of Cube and Magic and how they relate to us in the Cube community, and more importantly, where we just sit around and goof off and talk about cardboard. Today, we're going to be talking about on our inaugural episode. Is that the right word? Inaugural?
No,
Sure?
I don't think it's inaugural.
It's not?
It sounds very self-important of you. I don't think that's the correct word.
You think it's a malapropism?
I don't know what a malapropism is, but it probably is that.
Okay, well, welcome to the first episode of Cube for Two and You. Just to start things off, I guess today we thought we'd talk about some Ikoria cards we've been playtesting in our cube and our thoughts on those cards.
Yep. Sounds good.
So without further ado, let's get started. Cue the musical interlude.
So we playtest the Ikoria cards in our Eternal Cube, but can you tell the listeners a little bit about what that cube is?
Yeah, we call it the Eternal Cube, but that's not really a format. So our cube is a traditional unpowered cube. It's about 416 cards. It should be 415, but we play one Nicobolus for flavor because that's how we roll.
Because we like it that way,
That's fair. The environment is pretty quick. Aggro is a very real thing in our cube.
So when you say it's a quick environment, what do you really mean by that?
I mean, if you're not interacting, aggro will murder you on turn 4 and certainly on turn 5. So if you're just messing around inside our cube, you will get messed up when the red aggro deck comes to town.
Okay. So when we playtest Ikoria, can you kind of explain how that happens and how you pick the cards you want to use?
Yeah, so if you follow me on YouTube, we do have a YouTube channel. I should say I have a YouTube channel, and you make a guest appearance occasionally.
Occasionally, I make a guest appearance.
So yeah, I read through all the cards in a set, and then I review them on our YouTube channel, which is Cube for Two if you're interested. And I create a video on that, and then from that video, I pull the cards that I actually want to playtest inside our cube, and I try and sometimes I'll cut things that are comparable, like maybe I cut a 2-drop aggressive creature for this new 2-drop aggressive creature, but you don't always want to do that. Sometimes I want to compare 2 cards against each other, so maybe I leave both of those 2-drops and see which one decks like better. And yeah, that's how we playtest.
And we typically will playtest when a new set releases. We'll take some of those cards that we want to try on our cube and play test them for a couple weeks.
Yeah, when a new set comes out, we play test everything under the sun. When War of the Spark released, we played all the new Planeswalkers, even the bad ones. We played all the Planeswalkers, plus any other card that was remotely cubable. I think we had 30 or 40 playtest easy.
Yeah, we actually changed the name of the cube around the house to the War of the Spark cube, or Invasion of the War of the Spark, or
yes,
it was something like that.
It's a very epic name.
Yeah, it was
for a lot of mediocre draft
cards. Yeah. Well, all of that is great. Let's get started on the Ikoria review.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get started. I do want to hear.
So the first card we've decided to playtest was the Luminous broodmoth, which was a 2 white and 2 other insect creature with flying. Whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return it to the battleground under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. And this creature is a 3/4.
So we've played broodmoth just a couple of times. It hasn't come up that much. It came up in a Mardu aggro deck is where it saw its first play test. And I was playing the Mardu aggro deck. What did you think of it when it hit the field?
I thought that it was pretty sweet, actually. Anytime those regular small creatures that you had in your deck died, they came back flying, and that was really hard for me to deal with on my end of the field. But we also didn't get a lot of play out of it from the times we've drafted. We realized very quickly that it doesn't belong in every deck.
Yeah, the Luminous broodmoth like several other cards in cubes, is like a secret guild card, it seems like. It's not actually a card that you play in an Azurius deck. Like, those decks, a lot of cards already have flying. So the broodmoth isn't very good there, even if it's in like Azurius Tempo or something. And it's not very good in the...
Control.
Yeah, it's
I
not
can't
very
really
good.
see it in control.
No, it's not very good in the control deck either. So it pairs horribly with blue. It's pretty good with black.
Mm-hmm.
The Orzhov Aristocrats thing is very real, and I think that's when the broodmoth is at its best, is when it's letting those black creatures die and come back.
Oh, yeah, there's the dream of having some kind of blood artist trigger
God.
on the field and then having Luminous broodmoth and, oh, yeah, sure, I'm just going to sacrifice my tokens and my creatures here. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to gain life and you take damage. It feels like living the dream. We have yet to actually live that dream, though.
Yeah, the dream hasn't actually happened yet. And instead, I was kind of sad about having it at the top of my curve. Like, it was great to let my lower guys crack in, but I almost wish that I had Hero to Blade Hold, something to just let my guys go a little wider.
Really?
Yeah, you're looking at me. I know we didn't talk about this before.
No.
I really do feel that way. Like, I feel like it's great in the Orzhov, sacrificey deck, but in like a regular Boros aggro deck, I might just rather just be wider.
I hear you, and I respect your opinion, but I'm going to play the wife card and say we keep playtesting it for a little bit.
No, I'm not ready to cut it yet. It hasn't come up enough. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not as impressed as I ought to be, I suppose. I certainly don't feel the need to rush out and buy that $50 foil Mothra.
No, I'm not interested in the foil. I'm actually not a big fan of the crazy art Godzilla versions of these guys.
We're trying to keep listeners, all right? Don't be hating on the Godzilla art.
I can't help. You can cut that part.
That's fine.
You can cut it.
Oh, yeah. It won't make the last draft for sure. So we're going to do these in Wooborg order in case you hadn't figured it out. So Luminous Broodmoth is actually the only white card that we are playtesting. And so that's going to take us to blue and the Sea Dasher Octopus.
Okay, so the Sea Dasher Octopus is 2 blue and 1 other for a creature, a 2/2 creature. He has Mutate for 1 and a blue, and he has Flash. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. And I think we have been unanimously disappointed with this card.
I wanted it to be good. I so wanted it to be good. It has been a letdown. So Mutate feels like it's got a couple of different modes on it, but the Sea Dasher Octopus doesn't actually.
Yeah, I think the only time you got any benefit from mutating him was when you were already swinging in with a creature. You flash mutated on top of the creature and were able to draw that card. But as a 2/2 creature with flash, I doubt you're going to get much damage to draw that extra card.
Yeah, the 3 mana mode where I flash him in on instep and try and crack in is horrible, because if there's anything on the board, he's not getting through. There's no evasion on him. Quite frankly, we might as well just cut him and play Curious Obsession, which is the old Ixalan enchantment, where you enchant the creature and you hit him and you draw a card, and I think it's got some other upside on it.
I think that it's almost goes against the blue color profile, because
have to redo that, Nana Shook.
I think it goes against the blue color profile. With Flash, you expect to flash something in during someone's instep so that you don't have to waste that mana on your turn. Or perhaps you flash something in as a blocker. But his ability is beneficial when he deals damage. So it's almost like a combat trick that you put him on a creature after that creature is swinging, and then you get to draw the card. It just doesn't feel like what blue wants to be doing.
No, and it's really not much of a combat trick either. Most of the time, I know I'm getting in with the creature, so the flash isn't really a surprise. Instead, I think, just Curious Obsession for 1 mana, and we know that enchantments aren't good enough for Cube.
Yeah.
But no, a 3 mana 2/2 that just can't get through the board. We're going to playtest him a little bit longer, but I was really excited about this card to where I was looking for foil alternate arts as we were cracking pre-release kits at pre-release, and we didn't open one, and now I'm not mad that we didn't. No, Sea Dasher Octopus has not been everything he's cracked up to be so far.
No, and we were actually doing the pancake draft where we're picking a lot of things from the Ikoria set. and he's in one of these packs, and we're deliberately trying to pick the cards
we're
we
trying
want
to
to
playtest these cards.
And then you see the Sea Dasher Octopus, and you're like, oh, I don't want to take that.
I'll just pass it. They
we'll
can
just
have
pass it. They can have it.
This Vendilion click looks really sweet.
Right,
I'll take that.
right. But we do eventually have to playtest these cards, and I think the fact that you don't want it should speak volumes of the fact that it's not really suitable for our cube.
Well, I did want it, but anyway.
Well, we've playtested it. I don't know that it needs much more playtesting.
We'll give it another few drafts, but I think it is very likely that something is coming back.
Most definitely.
All right.
So also in blue, we're going...
Start over. I was talking over you. I'm sorry.
Also in blue, we have Neutralize, which is a 2 blue and 1 instant spell. It says counter target spell, or you can cycle it away for 2 colorless mana.
So what have your thoughts been on Neutralize? I think we've both had the chance to play it a few times each.
I think it's really great, actually. Now, keep in mind, I'm not really a blue player, to be fair, so you're probably playtesting this card more than me. But having it in my hand early and not needing to counterspell anything, well, fine. I didn't need to counterspell something. I'll cycle it away during your end step, and I'll get ready for my next turn. Or if I find it later in the game and I have it in my hand with the mana available, yeah, it's a good counterspell. So I've been happy with it as a cycling card, and I've been happy with it as a counterspell. What about you?
I've been really impressed with Neutralize. 3 mana counterspells are bad. That's my experience. Is 3 mana counterspells are bad. But a 3 mana counterspell that can help you hit your land drops is not bad. Turns out it's not bad. There was a moment today when we were drafting earlier and playing, and I had to decide whether I was going to hold up 3 mana. I had 4 lands on the field, and I had to decide whether I was going to cast my 2-drop and not have a counterspell available, or whether I was going to cast nothing and hold up Neutralize on your turn. And that felt awkward. That was a play line I didn't enjoy. But it's not like we cut a 2 mana counterspell to try this out anyway. You know, like we're playing this in place of, I think, Cryptic Command right now.
Right. And if you don't know Cryptic Command,
oh
by
God,
the way,
yeah, here we go.
It's a 3 blue and 1 colorless instant that gives you a choice. You can counter a target spell, return a target permanent to its owner's hand, tap all creatures your opponents control.
That's the mode you never use.
Yeah, you never want to tap your opponent's creatures. But even with Cryptic Command, it does cost less than Neutralize, and I just think Neutralize is easier to play.
Yeah, there's no doubt that Cryptic Command is more powerful than Neutralize. There's just no doubt about that. But triple blue is awkward, even in a cube whose fixing is as good as ours.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can there are moments we played Niv Mizzet for a long time, and he's castable.
Well, I'll tell you, you're not going to play Cryptic Command on turn 1, 2, or 3.
No, you're not.
But you could possibly Neutralize and cycle it away on turn 2 to get another land drop or get something else you're looking for. The ability to be flexible and play it early game or late game, I think, was a win, at least for me.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Neutralize. The card is really solid. It's good. I don't actually think it's going anywhere. I think it's really good.
No, I'm fine with that. I like it.
All right, so up next, we've been playtesting Voracious Great Shark. For 3 and double blue, you get a Shark 5/4 flash. When Voracious Great Shark enters the battlefield, counter target artifact or creature spell. So we're playing this in Dream Eater spot. Go ahead, tell me what you think about it.
Okay, first off, it's a shark. Okay, it's a shark in cube.
Dum.
I don't... Thank you. I don't think of sharks when I think of Magic the Gathering. I don't think of, oh, it's a great white shark. It's going to bite me and it's going to flash into the field. It doesn't feel very magical to me.
I think there's a great white shark in the dark way back in like OG Magic sets.
That is before I started playing. However, the actual card itself feels pretty dang good.
Yeah, Voracious, it's all right. It's not bad. I actually think it's like one of those 6 of one, half a dozen of the other kind of cards.
True.
Where like it's not Torrential Gear Hulk. It's not Torrential Gear Hulk, and it's not any of the other premium blue creatures. I would play Cavalier of Gales over Voracious Great Shark. The triple blue and 2 flyer that brainstorms when he ETBs. There are moments where you just have to flash him down and not counter anything, and those moments feel bad.
Yeah, but you start your turn
with a 5/4 body.
Yeah, 5/4 body. I mean, that has to be all right.
Yeah.
If you didn't have to counterspell anything, oh well.
Yeah. You don't get to 2 and 3 for 1 your opponents the way you would necessarily like to with some other cards. Like, you're not going to be able to counter an artifact or creature spell during combat most of the time. So it's not like you're going to be able to respond, flash, counter, block. You know, like, you're not going to be able to do that. The way Dream Eater feels really busted sometimes, because you can flash him, bounce the biggest creature, and block and eat the other.
Right.
And then surveil 4.
Right.
And he's got flying.
Right.
But the body on the Great Shark, 4 toughness matters.
Yeah, 5/4 will take something out. And, you know, your opponent has swung in. It's combat step. You've got something going on. You've activated a spell. And, oh no, wait. Hold on a second. I'm going to flash in my shark. I've counterspelled your thing. And I've got a really large...
You're misreading it. You can only counter creatures and artifacts. So you can't stop combat tricks, instants, or sorceries.
Okay.
If they're going to resolve. Yeah. Well, that's why you can't flash and counter and block and do all the things.
But you could counter the creature. If they
cast a creature with flash during combat, you could counter that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Target artifact or creature spell.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen during the main phase, not battle phase.
Yeah. Okay. If you're going to counter, you're going to counter the main phase 1 or 2.
But you could flash it in during battle.
Yeah, you could flash it in and eat something during battle. I've played it that way as well.
Okay. Well, there you go then.
I just wish there was a way to get maximum value. I want to do all the things.
You want to do all the things. You are so a blue player. You want to draw all the cards. You want to cast all the spells. You want all the value.
But look, if you're in like a budget cube, I think this is a slam dunk include.
Yeah.
If you're just getting started, there's nothing wrong with playing the Voracious Great Shark. He's not premium blue, but he's fine. I think I'll probably put Dream Eater back in even after a little more playtesting. I think the Surveil 4 is so strong on the back end.
Well, and in our cube, the Surveil mechanic allowing us to put things into the graveyard, allowing us to look at those cards, that's what blue and black want to do.
Yeah. That's fair.
So, what is it? What is that guild?
Dimir?
Dimir. Yeah. Yes. Dimir. Yes, I should know that. So that's what Dimir wants to do.
Yeah.
And the ability to put stuff into your graveyard is something that we have decided is very valuable in the cube in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Graveyard is basically an extension of the hand if you're doing things right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he probably will come back.
All right, I'll let you read the next one.
Okay. So...
Shark Typhoon.
Ooh, Shark Typhoon. Okay, so the next card was Shark Typhoon, which is an enchantment. 1 blue and 5 colorless. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that creature's spell's converted mana cost. But you should probably have me reread that, right?
Yeah, try it one more time.
Okay.
By the way, since we are reset, you need to be careful about how much you're tapping on the table. You're doing it a lot. You just, I'm not trying to fuss at you. You know the mic's going to pick it up. That's why I'm trying to lock my hands in place. All right, let me get situated. Might as well have a sip of water while we're chilling.
Might as well have a sip of water. Do you have any notes on the Shark Typhoon? Oh, yeah, I wrote this down. It was okay if you don't have non-creature spells, cycle him away.
If you don't have them in hand. If you're not planning on getting value, you don't cast this card.
Uh-huh. So... Yeah. You cast a non-creature spell. Oh, okay, yeah, gotcha.
Okay. Yep, so whenever you're ready.
Well, I had to read it first.
I don't blame you.
Okay. So, it's time to take medicine. You want to pause?
Yeah, I'll pause it and we'll do all the things.
Next up was Shark Typhoon. For 1 blue and 5 others, you get an enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. You can also cycle away this card for 1 blue, 1 other, and X. When you cycle away Shark Typhoon, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. So either way, you're probably going to get a flying shark.
Sharknado.
Sharknado.
The card is so sweet. I love this card.
So I have actually been very impressed with this. When we were just doing the Ikoria playtest, I wasn't really impressed. But once we've combined it with our cube cards...
You mean when we were like pre-releasing, you were impressed?
Pre-releasing.
Yeah,
when we were pre-releasing, I wasn't as impressed. But once we've put it in our cube, it has felt pretty sweet.
Yeah. I obviously I was there when you were pre-releasing. I think you made a fundamental mistake when you were pre-releasing.
Probably.
You cast it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a learning curve. You know, we learned from that. No, you don't actually cast Shark Typhoon.
You do not cast Shark Typhoon.
If you don't have some non-creature spells you're planning on following it with. I was hoping, I guess, I would get those non-creature spells.
I'll draw them. We'll get there.
Yeah, that didn't happen. No. So, if you don't have the non-creature spells, go ahead and cycle it away.
So I freaking love this card. Shark Typhoon is so sweet. I think the personal struggle that I have with it is trying to I have to make myself cast it. I always want to hold it for one more mana to make a 4/4 instead of a 3/3. Well, God, I could hold it a little bit longer and I can have a 5/5 instead of a 4/4. If I hold it a little bit longer, I could have a 6/6 instead of a. And so the goal for me is forcing myself to cast it. But when you make a 3/3 or a 4/4 shark and draw a card that's uncounterable and maybe block and eat something, it feels disgusting.
Absolutely. And the ability for you to cycle it away at flash speed.
Yeah.
So whenever you need it.
Yeah.
Oh, I need me a flyer right now. Okay, well, cycle it away.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I have been really impressed with Shark Typhoon. I'm not sure what we took out for it to play test, but I don't think it's going to make it back in. What do you think?
No, Fibblethip is not coming back.
Ooh, we cut Fibblethip to play test this?
We did.
Bye, Fibblethip.
No, Fibblethip's not coming back.
He ain't coming back.
But I do want to say, listeners, Fibblethip is fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's fine. He's not gross. He's definitely not Shark Typhoon.
Dude, flying shark though. Flying shark.
You pay 2 mana. Fibblethip is blue and 1 to play a 1/1 and draw a card. And Shark Typhoon is a blue and 2 to get a 1/1 flyer and draw a card.
But it doesn't have to be a 1/1 flyer.
But it doesn't have to be. It scales up, and so it just it outclasses Fibblethip all day. Yeah. But I was not mad about Fibblethip either. Fibblethip was fine.
But it's just okay.
It's
okay.
Shark Typhoon
I think I would prefer
disgusting.
to have the flying shark.
Yeah. Shark Typhoon feels gross when you do it. So.
Okay, so that was all the blue cards we playtest. The next card we have is in black, and it's Heartless Act. For 1 black and 1 other, an instant. Choose 1. Destroy target creature with no counters on it, or remove up to 3 counters from a target creature.
Yes, indeed. And we are playing this in place of Doomblade. And Doomblade is 1 and a black instant, destroy target non-black creature. And the reasoning, the thought is there are more black creatures in the cube than there are creatures with counters on them. Therefore, Heartless Act is just more flexible.
Yeah, I doubt that you're going to use the second ability much in cube and worry about the counters. I just don't see that happening often. Mm-hmm. And when you start talking about non-black creatures, well, approximately 20% of your cube has some black in it.
Yes.
So
about half of that being creatures.
Right. So I've got to think that Doomblade has more limitations.
It does.
Than Heartless Act. However,
I was going to say, you're the black player. Tell them how it played.
However, I'm playing against you, and you've got your Is It deck out, and you've got another Ikoria card that we're going to cover in just a minute that adds counters, and I should have Heartless Act upon cast.
Yeah, right after
before
you
could
board.
get those counters.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't occur to me that once he got a counter on him, that creature, once it got a counter, I couldn't get rid of it.
Mm-mm.
That Heartless Act was worthless.
Yeah, the best you could do is shrink him after
The best
that.
I could do is shrink him, but they didn't get rid of him.
Yeah, no.
So, and I think that was just a mistake on my end.
Yeah.
Playing it, I still think that Heartless Act is a good removal card.
Yeah, I think that was a corner case scenario.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously it came up a couple of times because we were playtesting those same decks against each other. But no, Heartless Act has impressed me. It's unconditional removal. Heartless Act, I think it's just a straight upgrade over Doomblade. It's not going anywhere. I think maybe Doomblade comes back in if I can find something else I want to cut, just to give black a little more density of removal. Mm-hmm. But Heartless Act is gross. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think we can leave Heartless Act in there for now.
Yeah, for sure.
So another black card. I was really excited to playtest this one, and I think we have differing opinions on this one. This is Bastion of Remembrance.
Yeah.
For 1 black and 2 others, you get an enchantment card. When Bastion of Maybe you should read this. I'm struggling.
I'll have a little more practice. Bastion of Remembrance. Okay, let me try this again. Yeah. Yeah, so Bastion of Remembrance is 2 and a black for an enchantment. When Bastion of Remembrance enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 human soldier creature token. And then whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So it's Zulaport Cutthroat on an enchantment for 1 more mana.
Yeah, and it's going to give you the token when you play it. So it's not completely like you're playing an enchantment without someone out there on the field. You do get a creature to come with it.
Yeah.
I was really excited about this, but I love my aristocrat type decks. But I haven't actually played this card. You've been the one that drafted it.
Yeah, I played it in that Mardu Aristocrats build. So Bastion of Remembrance feels great and horrible all at the same time for me. Obviously, we're very early in the testing process. It hasn't seen as much play. So the great part is when you slam down that Zulaport Cutthroat effect on an enchantment, and you don't have to worry about it getting bolted away or Swords to Plowshare or whatever, because Zulaport Cutthroat, Blood Artist, they are a magnet for removal, but good luck removing my enchantment. I think for me, the crappy part is paying 3 mana and feeling like all I did this turn was make a 1/1.
But that's not all you did. Yes, you made a 1/1 creature, but you've put an enchantment out there that's going to last you the rest of the game, most likely.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
There is definitely some value to be had there. I mean, you're going to be gaining life anytime a creature dies, and you're going to be pinging your opponent every time a creature dies. And it's a creature you control. Yeah. But still, I mean, if you've put this in the right deck, not every deck's going to want this. I don't think the control deck cares.
Oh God, no.
But if you've got tokens,
yeah,
or if you could even put this in an aggro deck, because you know you're going to be trading some with your other cards and your creatures.
So I think for me, the situation that happened, and obviously we haven't playtested it but a couple of times, is I'm holding Bastion of Remembrance in my hand and Midnight Reaper. And Midnight Reaper has the same casting cost. It's black and 2 others. And he's a 3/2, and whenever a creature dies, I lose a life, but I draw a card. So I can play Midnight Reaper and swing in with my little guys and draw cards to get more gas, which felt like the right play. Or I could play this enchantment and make a 1/1 and swing in and let my dudes die and do the Zulaport Cutthroat thing. It felt awkward in the curve of that deck. I don't know that that's always going to be the case. You know, our aggro decks curve out around 3 most of the time. Like, that tends to be the top of their curve. Sometimes they play a 4-drop.
That is true.
I'm not done with it. I definitely want to playtest it a little more because the idea that it can't be removed feels great.
Well, I think when you're playtesting this card specifically, you need to think to yourself, would I rather this be a Zulaport Cutthroat? Because that's what you took out to playtest this card. Would you rather it be the creature that just sits there, and once the creature is gone, you've lost the ability? But yeah, he does come in to play 1 mana sooner. So I guess as you're playtesting, you just need to think that in your mind. Would you rather have the creature that costs 1 less, or is the enchantment actually worth the extra mana that you're paying for?
I think it probably is still better than Zulaport Cutthroat. I think paying the 1 colorless for the permanent Blood Artist, like this is sticking around, that permanent effect, is probably worth it. Yeah, it just felt awkward on curve in that deck at that time. I think that's the only time we've had a chance to play Bastion. I think you played it like once today. But it wasn't in it was like into an empty board. It didn't get to do its thing.
Yeah, I didn't get the creatures out there to get the benefit off of it. I really wanted to, but you know.
You were in the process of dying.
I do that a lot, apparently. So we did playtest a red card.
You're going to need to do all of that again.
I'm looking for the red card. There he is. Lukas. Okay.
Yeah, I think I had to add him in at the end.
Yeah. but he's there.
Yeah.
So we did playtest Luka Coppercoat Outcast, a legendary planeswalker for 2 red and 3 other. And he has a lot of text. You want to help me with the text?
No, I haven't played him. Have you played him?
Actually, I don't think we have playtested him. So I don't think we have anything to say.
Yeah, no, Luka he looks sweet, and he was really good in Ikoria. Me talk good. He was sweet in Ikoria Limited, but he just hasn't come up in Cube Draft yet.
Yeah,
Like he'll get his time in the sun. We're not going to bother to spend time reading you a card and talk about one that we haven't played. Know that it's in the cube, and if you want to, you can always shoot us a question later and ask us how it's going. We just haven't seen it yet.
Yep. Okay. So I think we're moving into green at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, green. Yeah, poor old Gemrazer. I've got double notes on Gemrazer.
Yeah, you've played him a bunch. I haven't played him at all.
Next card was Gemrazer in green. For 1 green and 3 others, you get a creature beast that's 4/4 with reach and trample. He can also mutate for 2 green and 1 other, and whenever this creature mutates, you destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. And I'm going to tell you, I've playtested this creature.
You have playtested the crap out of this card.
I have playtested him a lot, and every single time I do it, I don't like it. And we've talked about this so many times that there's nothing wrong with a creature that costs 4. That is a 4/4.
4/4 reach and
with
trample.
reach and trample.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
so
there's
why
nothing
does
wrong.
it feel so bad when you can't mutate with him? Because it does. It feels bad.
I don't know. I know you haven't been able to play him on curve yet. You haven't dropped a Landwar elf and then turned 2 mutated Gemrazer onto a Landwar elf. Like, you haven't been able to do that yet. I don't know why it feels bad. I think it's just got to be additive distraction, that you are greedy and you want that extra value, and I don't blame you. But mutate actually seems to lead to some complicated play lines where you really have to make some decisions.
I really think that mutate on this card specifically with Gemrazer, it's additive distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the time, you really just need to play it as a 4/4 creature with that reach and trample. You don't need to mutate it. Most of the time, that is the correct play. And you just need to be okay with that in your hand as you're playing. Otherwise, there's really no upside to mutating. If there isn't a artifact or enchantment on the board, why are you saving him?
Yeah.
You shouldn't save him in your hand. It's just additive distraction. Play it. Play it on turn 4. Play it on turn 3 if you've got, those mana dorks and some curve and stuff happening. But yeah, it's not a bad card. It just feels bad.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play with Gemrazer yet. You had him in your pre-release kit, and then you've had him in Cube several times. I think for me, when I'm deck building with Gemrazer, I might try and think of him as a spell instead of a creature. I know he is a creature, but when I'm laying my deck out, I might think of him as like, oh, this is my return to nature effect down here. This is my artifact enchantment removal down here. And that way I'm just kind of adding to my creature density overall in my green deck, which wants that. But then I still have like this pseudo spell effect that I'm running almost as a spell, even though it's really just an extra body for me later.
I think I actually disagree with that. I think when you're playing Gemrazer, you need to think of him as a creature.
And you're just playing him on curve no matter what?
Just play him on curve. Because let's think about this. A lot of our green decks have that reanimator ability. So if you do play him as a creature, he goes to the graveyard, you can reanimate him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's a 4/4, which is nice.
Yeah.
I think we were playtesting him in the place of Trumpeting Herd, which is a spell.
Yeah.
I can't go back into the graveyard and get Trumpeting Herd again. I can't do it.
No, it casts itself again on your upkeep, though.
It does.
But you're right. Like, you can't reanimate it when you're in
I can't reanimate it. I can't attach those enchantments to it and pull it out of the graveyard.
Yeah.
Gemrazer does count as a creature, and I think that is definitely an upside to this card. I also had an interesting playtest with him where I had played... Golly, what is that black card? The one that makes the goat.
Woe Strider.
Ah, that's right. I had played Woe Strider, and when he comes into the battlefield, he makes a goat.
Yeah.
Well, I mutated Gemrazer on top of the goat.
That was the game
and
that
was
felt
able
gross.
to swing in with a 4/4 with reach and trample. That really felt pretty good.
Yeah, that was the game he felt gross. And
Yeah.
you ate something of mine when you did it. You mutated, ate an artifact, and then
Yeah.
and you the thing I think that
actually ate your top.
yes, you ate Sensei's
Divining
Divining
top.
Top.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had to like tap and throw it back on my library in response. But which wasted my next draw because now it's on top of my library. But I think the underrated thing about mutate is pseudo haste.
Yes.
When you mutate Gemrazer onto that goat, you can just turn him sideways immediately.
Yes.
And so now you have a 4/4 with reach and trample for 3 mana and haste when you mutate and get to swing in. And that feels gross.
Yes. I do feel like Gemrazer is a good card. You need to understand when it is opportune
Yeah.
to mutate with him and when it's a better idea to just play him as a creature because the creature itself is fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Play lines. Play lines are really important with him.
Yeah.
But
Be
the card
smart.
is very good, though. What's next?
Coglga.
I'm going to let you do this one. I want to do
What?
Titanoth.
What?
Yeah.
You want me
I
to
haven't
talk
played
about-
him.
It's fine. Let me find him. Coglga. So we also playtested Coglga the Titan Ape for 3 green and 3 other. You get a legendary creature ape that is 7/6. When Coglga the Titan Ape enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Whenever Coglga attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. You can also pay a green and 1 other to return a target human you control to its owner's hand, and Coglga gains indestructible until the end of turn.
Yeah. And so far, that last line is just flavor text.
Yeah, it's just flavor
That's
text.
not happening.
Yeah, it doesn't really apply very much.
No.
Now, I have play tested this one the most,
Oh, without a doubt.
and I gotta tell you, it feels bad.
What? He's King Kong. What do you mean he feels bad?
I don't like him. I don't like him. So, if you counterspell him, there's really no upside.
Yeah.
I didn't get any perks from having him. And if he goes back into my graveyard, I have to reanimate him. I think we were playtesting the Honored Hydra in his place, where we swapped him out.
Yeah, we did. Let me read Honored Hydra for the people at home. It's not a common cube include. By the way, you should be cubing it. Honored Hydra is sweet. So, Honored Hydra is 5 and a green for a 6/6 Snake Hydra with trample, but it also has Embalm. So for 3 and a green, you exile this card from your graveyard and you create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a white zombie Snake Hydra with no mana cost, and you Embalm as a sorcery. So you pay 6 mana for a 6/6 Trampler, and then when he dies, it goes to your yard. You pay 4 mana and you get another 6/6 Trampler. So when he dies, he like draws a copy of himself.
Yeah, the Snake Hydra sounded pretty nice, but we're not talking about him. We're talking about Coglga, the Titan Ape, who lands on the field like a big cinder block and does nothing. It's
He
like
fights.
no, of course he fights. Okay, so we're in the Looney Tunes, and you drop an anvil on someone's head, but after that, there's really no benefit to having him on the field. He doesn't trample. He doesn't reach. He doesn't embalm out of your graveyard and come back.
Not having trample is really a noticeable downside.
If I'm going to spend 3 green and 3 other, which is not exactly easy to do because you're splashing lots of colors most of the time. So having 3 green and 3 other to get him out there, yeah, he destroys something, but I want more.
Yeah.
I want more from something that is that big and expensive.
Carnage Tyrant, he's not.
Carnage Tyrant, he is not.
No, I was really excited about Coglga. I thought he might be one of the best green 6s that people could be playing in Cube. You know,
Did you
top
really
5,
think that?
like top 5 or 6 maybe?
Did
yeah.
you really think that?
I think I really said that in the YouTube video.
Oh, whiff.
So I have noticed you playing Coglga. I think you played him one game and he came down and he ate a sizable creature, and I thought that felt really good.
You saw him.
Yeah.
You played against him once.
did.
You don't have any clue how many times he was in my hand, and I looked at him and thought, I'd rather you be something else.
That's fair. I don't know that.
So, yeah, I'm telling you, he's not easy to get on the field, and his upside is not as up as some other cards at the same CMC.
Well, there you have it. Coglga's time might be numbered inside our cube. And the attack trigger, though, when he attacks, kill an artifact or enchantment, is that what he says?
Yeah. How many artifacts and enchantments is your
hasn't been
opponent
relevant.
going to have?
It just hasn't been relevant at all. So what you're really paying 6 mana for is you're paying 6 mana for a 7/6 fight effect. Yeah, so Honored Hydra, you could be returning, and I just want to rep Honored Hydra again. Like, I am really pleased with Honored Hydra.
Oh, yeah, the Honored Hydra, yes. So, as soon as we're playtesting, Honored Hydra's going to come back, and Coglga the Titan Ape can go crawl on top of a building and just hang out. I'm done with them.
But we opened that really sweet foil.
I appreciate you can put it in the notebook, and you can stare at that pretty foil all you want, but I don't want to play with them in my cube.
All right, well, let's talk about a card that has overperformed then.
Overperformed? Absolutely.
Let's talk about Titanoth Rex.
Yes, let's.
For 7 and double green, you get an 11/11 Trampler with 1 and a green for cycling. So cycling 1 and a green. When you cycle Titanoth Rex, put a trample counter on target creature you control. So I included this card on a lark. Just like, I thought, like, cycling is pretty good. Maybe we can cycle it into the yard and, reanimate it some, and that'll be sweet. Titanoth Rex is surprisingly good so far.
Oh, I have been impressed when I've had him in my deck, and I have been impressed with you playing him against me. The 7 and 2 green cost on him it doesn't matter.
You're not casting this card.
It does not matter. You're not going to cast him for full cost.
No, if you drafted this card, you had no intention of hard casting.
Of course not. You could even play him in a deck that's only running a little tiny bit of green. It's just splashing green, so you can cycle him away.
I'm so glad you brought that up. So story time, boys and girls. I was playing a Kiki Jiki deck, and we Winston drafted. I didn't have enough playables. So I splashed green and included Titanoth Rex purely so I could just cycle him away. I'm just going to play him as a cantrip. And you were playing this Golgari Reanimator thing.
I had a nice Golgari deck.
Yeah.
And I think I played Exhume to get a creature out of my graveyard.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have any creatures in your graveyard.
Absolutely not.
And now's the best time to play it.
So, of course, in response, I cycle Titanoth Rex into my yard, and you exhume some very nice 3/3 something or other, and I exhume Titanoth Rex onto the battlefield, and then on my turn I untap and Kiki Jiki him and beat you to death. That was sweet. Death
was swift and quite painful, I have to admit. I thought I had it all under control. I had the advantage. You had no creatures in your graveyard.
No, yeah, there's nothing over there.
That was certainly not the case.
Who's that man behind the curtain?
It's a big man. It's a big Titanoth Rex.
I can't undersell he bends himself. He bends himself. And it's just so sweet when it happens.
Those Golgari decks, especially,
God,
the ones with the Reanimator,
Yeah.
were always trying to find a way to get that big gnarly creature into the graveyard. All he does, he comes to your hand, pay 2. I will sacrifice. I will go to the graveyard. Put me in the graveyard, and I will come back and smite someone.
And I will help you find that reanimate spell when I go.
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm loving it. I really am.
Whew, Titanoth Rex. Okay. So, next up is your girl. You have played this card a ton. Why don't you tell the people about it?
I have been playing Vivien, Monster's Advocate, as much as possible. She is a Planeswalker, 2 green and 3 others. Now, her standing ability allows you to look at the top card of your library at any time, and you can cast creature spells from the top of your library. Now, she +1s to create a 3/3 green beast token, and you can put your choice of vigilance or reach counters on that creature, or trample. We have found that reach is typically the best.
Pick reach every time, boys and girls.
You can also -2 her.
Try tapping above to edit.
Go away, Siri. Ugh. You can also -2 her. When you cast your next creature spell this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser mana cost.
Yes.
And put it onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. So I've been very pleased with Vivien.
Vivien is gross. Tell the good people how many times you've done that -2.
None.
None? Nope.
No, you don't need it.
You know what you do? You just plus her.
Yeah.
You just plus her and win.
I mean, at first I thought she seemed kind of nice, but being able to plus her to make a 3/3 beast with reach or vigilance, but most of the time you won't reach, it seems really nice. So she's coming out onto the field, she's protecting herself, and then, yes, I paid the 5 mana to have her. Next turn, I'm going to get another free beast if you don't destroy her, and I can just look at the top of my library, and just cast creatures for days.
Which led to what I think is the grossest turn we have seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, that was a great play.
So you had Nissa, who shakes the world on the field, doubling your green mana.
Mm-hmm.
The following turn, you drop Vivien.
Mm-hmm.
And you plus make a beast with reach.
Yeah.
And then you untap and peek at the top card of your library. And what's up there?
I think it was ooze.
Yeah, biogenic ooze.
Biogenic ooze. So biogenic ooze sneaks into the field and creates another ooze.
Yep.
And then the next thing that was on top of my deck, I think it was...
It's Fight Wolf. It's Wicked Wolf.
The Wicked Wolf.
Yeah. And you ate something of mine.
I ate something when it entered the battlefield. And the next thing on top of my library, because I've got all this extra mana thanks to Nissa, was the copying artifact creature. What?
No, it was Phantasmal Image.
Phantasmal Image. Okay, so yeah, it was Phantasmal Image, and I copied ooze.
Yeah.
And I made another ooze.
And then you went to Instep.
Yeah.
And put counters on all
my
your oozes.
got bigger. God. That was a really sweet turn.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures in one turn.
I was dead. For those of you who are listening at home, we don't need to talk about how this game turned. I died. And it was quick. Yeah. It was very quick. I was very dead.
It was so much fun.
Oh my gosh.
And Vivien just kept me going. I didn't have to draw the cards. I could just play right off of my library. That was a really nice standing ability.
All right, so you're not going to play 3 creatures off the top of your library, experimental frenzy style every game. You're hoping to play 1, or 1 or 2. But the beast tokens, they're 3/3s.
Yeah.
That makes them bigger than almost every token in Cube.
Mm-hmm.
So they block all the 1/1s. Reach, though.
Yeah, I always pick reach. I picked flying once, and...
No, you did not pick flying, because she doesn't give flying. You picked...
I might have wanted to give it flying.
Yeah, I think you picked vigilance.
You had flying, and I wanted reach. No, I picked vigilance instead. That was not as good. So you had your flying creature out, and I've got my nice, strong, vigilant creature, and...
Vivien died.
Vivien did.
She died.
Because my 3/3 beast with vigilance doesn't do a thing against flyers.
Nope.
So that was a mistake.
Yeah,
reach is the right choice.
We've pretty much found that reach is the right choice.
Reach is the right choice.
Every time. Regardless. Even if it looks like there are no flyers, you still pick reach.
Yeah.
Because keeping Vivien alive means you win.
Yeah.
Yeah, if she doesn't get removed, you win. All right, so that brings us to the multicolored section. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So first up in the multicolored section, we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about this card because we haven't really had a chance to playtest it much, as Lurrus. We're playtesting Lurrus. So for 1 and Hybrid Orzhov, you get a 3/2 companion, Cat Nightmare. Each permanent... I'm going to try all that again. That's what I'm going to do. So for 1 and Hybrid Orzhov, you get a 3/2 legendary creature, Cat Nightmare. Lurrus has Companion, of course. Each permanent card in your starting deck needs a converted mana cost of 2 or less in order to play him as Companion. He has Lifelink, and then during each of your turns, you may cast 1 permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. I think you have had him once in a deck where you just needed an extra body and you played him as a 3/2 to help fill it out. Because we were Winston drafting again and you were just short on playables.
Well,
or not playables.
I've had him a couple times and I've play tested him as a creature body. The lifelink was nice once. I have not been able to companion him. I don't think that that's going to be really relevant in most cases. But I don't think I can really give a good feedback on him yet, as I haven't been able to.
He's never been in the deck he belongs in.
Correct.
Yeah, he hasn't found the Orzhov Aristocrat deck or the Rakdos aggro deck or the Mardu aggro deck. I think that's where he really belongs. And he just hasn't made it into that deck yet. He will. I'm not really concerned about Lurrus. I think he's going to be gross. I'm more worried about nerfing him for power than I am about him being cube good.
I actually don't know that he's going to be gross, but I don't want to give too much feedback on him yet because we really haven't playtested him very much.
That's fair. Well, let's move on to a card I have playtested quite a bit. And I just knew that Boros was such a soft guild that the Regal leosaur would make it. Why don't you read the Regal leosaur for the good people at home?
Okay, Regal leosaur is 1 red and 1 white for a 2/2 dinosaur cat. It has mutate for a colorless and what is this?
Hybrid Boros.
Hybrid Boros.
Hybrid, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's I probably need to say that again. Is it Boros?
It's Boros.
Boros.
One. So for 1 and hybrid Boros.
The Regal leosaur can mutate for 1 hybrid Boros. And also, whenever this creature mutates, other creatures you control get +2/+1 until the end of turn. I need to tell you, boys and girls, Regal leosaur is not a creature you want to play on turn 2.
No, he's not.
You don't. There's no upside. There's none.
No. I thought that he would be okay. That worst case scenario, I would play him on turn 2 as a 2/2 vanilla in the aggro deck. And best case scenario, I would drop him on turn 3 as a mutate and pump my board and swing in hard. And it turns out he's not really even a 3-drop. You don't want to mutate on turn 3. You just might not be, you're not wide enough yet. He's really like a 4 or a 5-drop, like, because that's the turn you want to play him on.
I would say that the Regal leosaur is a finisher.
Yeah.
He might cost only 1 red and 1 white, but he is a finisher. He's not for early game. He's not even for the middle of the road game. You play this card, you mutate, and you win. But it's at the end of the game that you want to play him, not early.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I really wanted him to get there. And we're going to playtest him a little more. He hasn't made it in a dedicated Boros deck. He was in that weird Mardu deck I was playing because we were Winston drafting. So I'd like to see him in a dedicated Boros deck, but I have already felt how awkward he is in my hand and when I want to actually play him. And a lot of times my board isn't, like, you have to be wide. Pumping one other creature with the Regal leosaur feels just horrible. It feels bad. You're better off just playing him as another creature, I think, at that point.
Well, if you're not going to play it when you go wide, you might as well not be playing him in your cube at all.
Yeah. So I've been unimpressed. I really hoped he would get there. Boris is such a soft guild.
Which is why he's going to get to stay around and do some more playtesting. There's not a lot of other things that we are super impressed with about the Boros cards. I do think that the Regal leosaur can be valuable. You just need to play it as a finisher. You just need to know.
Yeah.
Don't be confused. He's not a 2-drop.
If you're playing him on turn 2, things aren't looking great. There's so many better white 2-drops and red 2-drops that you would rather be playing on turn 2.
Or colorless 2-drops.
Or colorless 2-drops. So yeah, I'd much rather play the Phyrexian Revoker.
Yeah.
Than the Regal leosaur on turn 2, and just name your planeswalker.
Yeah.
That I saw last game even, still. So he hasn't been great so far. But we can talk about someone who has been pretty good.
Ooh, who's been pretty good?
Surprisingly, the Dorat has been pretty good.
Give the people his real name.
All right, so on the Godzilla card, I think his name is Dorat, but his real name is Sprite Dragon. So for blue and a red, you get a 1/1 fairy dragon with flying and haste. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Sprite Dragon.
I gotta admit, I was just thinking that Sprite Dragon was all right. Fine, you have a 1/1 flyer. Whatever.
Good for you.
Yeah, good for you.
Hand clap. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you got a cute little fairy dragon. Whatever. Move on. That has not been the case.
Nope. Card's pretty decent, actually. It's been. Now, it was in a dedicated Jeskai spells deck. The deck's only running 12 creatures in it. But when you put down Sprite Dragon on turn 2, you get to crack in immediately. Haste isn't nothing, first of all. So you get a little value right there. Mm-hmm. And then they have to kill him. That's the best part. You have to kill him because he gets out of hand.
Well, if you don't have any flyers, you have to use some removal to get rid of him. Mm-hmm. And it feels bad to use solid removal to get rid of a Sprite Dragon, a 1/1 flyer with haste. But you got to understand, he's not staying. a 1/1.
No, he is not.
He's not staying that way, because anytime you ponder or preordain or counterspell something, boom, he got bigger. Boom, he got bigger. Boom, he got bigger.
Yes. Every turn I would cast something, he would get bigger and gain value. And in the meantime, I bolted whatever you were going to play away.
Oh, yeah, you're going to bolt my creature and make him bigger. Great. Yeah. Now I don't have a blocker and you're going to hit me for more.
Yeah, if you are a peasant cuber at home, you need to be playing this card.
Absolutely.
Sprite Dragon is sweet.
Dunk.
It's like Saheeli and Sprite Dragon. Now, he is not Saheeli good. I'm not trying to say that. But I have been pleasantly surprised. 1/1 counters are big game.
So let me ask you this. You were actually playing the Sprite Dragon when I used real removal on him.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
It's great. That's the other messed up part, is that when you had to Assassin's Trophy Sprite Dragon, I felt fantastic.
You didn't have to tell our viewers I wasted an Assassin's Trophy on him. That makes me seem... But I did, though. I had to. It had to be done.
It had to be done. And I felt great. Like, you had to use quality removal on my 2-drop that I'm not really that attached to. He just keeps accruing value. The first counter is good. The second counter, when he becomes a 3/3, it's on like Donkey Kong. And any bigger than that, I'm going to win this game quick.
Yeah, that's why I had to use my Assassin's Trophy to get rid of it.
Yeah, so you used Assassin's Trophy on Sprite Dragon. Well, great. That means when I cycle Sharknado, my shark's going to stick around.
Oh no, not the flying shark.
Or the other thing that happens is you'll play threats that are more scary than Sprite Dragon.
Yeah.
And he gets to stick around by virtue of that.
Yeah.
I play Sprite Dragon on turn 2. I play Monastery Mentor on turn 3. Sprite Dragon isn't eating your removal. The Mentor is. Which means he still sticks around and gets bigger and accrues value.
Yeah, he seems like an innocuous little creature, but the fact of it is... he's valuable and he plays well and he's probably going to be staying.
Yeah, he needs a dedicated spells deck. Like a dedicated spells deck. He's not going to be in a deck that's, 16 creatures and 8 spells. That's not the home for him. But in a dedicated spells deck, he did all the things today.
Yep.
Yeah, he did all the things. I was really impressed with this card. Yeah. We could talk about it, and then we need to go up and get Kinann. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So we actually don't have much to say about the Fiend Artisan,
Nope.
which is hybrid gruel.
Yeah.
2 CMC cost for a
no, you need to back up.
No.
It's Coglga, babe. You need to know that guild.
Oh, I do know that guild. No, it's not gruel at all. So we'll back up.
Yep.
Back up. Scratch all that and reverse it. So we are playtesting Fiend Artisan, which is hybrid Golgari,
Yes, we are.
for a creature nightmare that is 1/1. When Fiend Artisan, he gets a 1/1/1 for each creature card in your graveyard. You can pay X and hybrid Golgari and tap him. Sacrifice another creature, search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield and shuffle your library, activate the ability only a time that you could cast a sorcery.
Yep. Have you played with it?
We don't have it yet.
Yeah, I know. I ordered it today, actually. I just broke down and ordered one.
Yeah, I do think that this card's going to be fun to play test,
Yeah.
but we just don't have it yet, so I can't give you any really good feedback on it.
We'll play with it. We'll figure it out. It's all good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But let's move on to the last card. We have been playtesting because
Yes.
I actually opened several of these. And so let's talk about Kinann, the Bonder Prodigy. I love that name, by the way.
Kinann?
Yeah, no.
Or Bonder Prodigy? Prodigy?
Not-
Bonder? Kinann?
But never mind. This is a family show. This is a family show. I'll read Kinann, the Prodigy, for you. What he's a prodigy of remains to be seen. Look at that rope in his hand. Anyway.
What?
He's holding rope.
Get focused.
For green and a blue, you get a legendary creature, Human Druid 2/2. Whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. Pay 5 green and blue. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a non-human creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So I have been playtesting Kinann. I've got to play him a few times. And he is one of 2 things. He's gross or he's meh. And I haven't seen him find any middle ground yet.
Right, and I've only been on the other side of the playtest. I've been the one staring at him on your side of the field, and he hasn't seemed very threatening to me. I haven't really wanted to waste any removal on him. However, I do want you to tell them the story of what happened when you played him and that artifact. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, in case you haven't figured it out, viewers, the artifact in question is Basalt Monolith, because Kinann is like the first card ever to break Basalt Monolith. So anyway, turn 2, I played Kinann, and in turn 3, I played Basalt Monolith. Kinann lets the Monolith tap for an extra colorless mana, so now it's tapping for 4. So you tap it for 4, and then Basalt Monolith lets you pay 3 to untap it, so you do that, and you generate infinite colorless mana. Which might lead you to ask, Matt, what did you cast with your infinite colorless mana?
Yeah, Matt, what did you cast with your infinite colorless mana? And we should say, this was on, what, turn 3?
This is turn 3. Turn 3, yeah.
Turn 3. What'd you cast with your infinite colorless mana on turn 3?
Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
It was so dirty. It was so good.
And I'm over here thinking, Kinann is, all right, he's a 2-2 that's going to give you some extra mana. All right, whatever.
Yeah, no, I had the hand. I just had the hand.
That was a really great hand.
Yeah, no, it was gross.
But he hasn't been like that all the time.
No, most of the time he comes down and like my stuff taps for a little more, and I've got some ramp. I've only been able to trigger him once, I think. I've only been able to pay the 7 and do the 5 thing one time, and I think I wound up getting a mana dork or something innocuous, like not some big gross creature off of it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of disappointing.
Well, that's how I felt.
Yeah, you're going to pay 7. I'd really like to slam something down that's impressive. But, well, that's card games.
Yeah, card games. It
magic.
happens. So far, he's been meh to busted. If you're going to drop a turn 3 Ugin, I did build the entire deck around hopefully being able to trigger him and take advantage of his ramp. I was playing Walking Ballistas, Hydroid Craces, lots of X spells. But the funny thing I noticed is these X creatures that curve up with Kinann's mana abilities are actually non-bows with his second ability. Because if you flip a Walking Ballista off of his second ability, well, it just comes into play as a 0/0 and dies. So that was maybe a deck construction mistake. I mean, it didn't actually come up in the game, but I realized it as I was playing the deck. That like, oh, I'm going to take advantage of all this mana ramp and all this extra mana I've got floating around, and I'm going to play all these X creatures so they can be huge, which was great, except that I can't actually flip them if I bother to trigger the second half. So that was probably a deck construction mistake.
Well, but still, I mean, he's been playing okay.
Yeah, he's been playing okay. It's not like Simic isn't a super busted guild already. Hashtag Oko, Hydroid Crasis, Uro, Titan. Those cards aren't any good, are they? Why?
I'm sorry, viewers, you couldn't see the look of sarcasm on my face, but yeah, those no.
Yeah, this
Simic,
is radio,
Simic
not
is
television.
Dangerous. Simic in our cube is dangerous. We got to keep an eye on it, just for power level, actually.
Yep.
So.
All right. And I think that's going to do it. I think that's everything that we are playtesting and how it's come up so far and our thoughts on all those cards.
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you, if you're listening, for joining us here at Cube for Two and you.
Aw.
It has been a pleasure.
Absolutely. If you have questions or concerns or you want to suggest a topic for discussion, please feel free to email us at cubefortwo, all spelled out but one word, cubefortwo @gmail.com. You can also catch me on Twitter at cubefortwo as well if you want to reach out to me there. We would love for you to press that little subscribe button next to the podcast thing, and that way you can catch our next episode, which will be coming out. When's our next episode coming out?
When we get it ready.
Oh, we're not firmed up on our release schedule at the moment.
But I can tell you that our next episode is going to be on playtesting, how-tos, how to playtest your cube.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to talk about how I go about picking cards to go in and out, and what's that face for? This is a family show. How I play test. You mentioned Kinann and everything goes off the rails.
In and out.
I want you to know I'm leaving all of this in. I'm leaving all of this in. We'll talk about playtesting how-tos and how I go through my process of picking what stays and what goes to the on-deck binder. instead of in and out. Anyway,
We're going to have to let you guys go because, you know, the magic is for him and the he is for me. So hope you guys enjoyed our show. Catch us again next time here at Cube for Two and You.
cue the music.